This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. If you haven't heard, Elmo is going viral. And Elmo's going viral for many reasons. And it's showing us exactly what this psychosis that our government is putting on the masses is doing to people. People don't even realize why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, which, again, was something I just covered in my very first podcast, which you can find over on Spotify or you could find on Podbean under the name of A Call for an Uprising. Now, I covered really what a lot of these frequencies are doing to people, but there's a mass hypnosis going on as well. And if you didn't hear, Elmo is viral because Elmo made a tweet. Now, we could all look at that just from the standpoint of Elmo, the character on Sesame Street, making a tweet in reality and just show you how far they blurred the lines between fairy tale, between really Sesame Street, and what's going on in people's day-to-day lives. And what Elmo tweeted out was asking people how they were doing. Elmo said, "Hey, it's me, the Demon Elmo. How's everybody doing out there?" And instead of getting a response of like, who's the creep behind the puppet who's tweeting this? Or who's the creep who's working for PBS who's tweeting this out? The response was a bunch of adults who tweeted back their real-life personal problems to Elmo, which shows you the mass psychosis that we're under. And again, I'm going to go into deep detail in my podcast, which I recommend everybody subscribe to. Don't just download the podcast, subscribe to it so you get the notifications. Because I'm going to go into a deep dive about this psychosis with therapy, this psychosis that people are under where they're adults behaving like children and they don't realize why, as well as social constraints and social construction that they normalize in our day-to-day life, along with social engineering. So it sounds like boring topics, but they're not. Because I'll make them simple for you, why you think this way, why you feel this way, because this is all manufactured behavior from our government through the television set, through the music industry, through all of these things that we think are normal and safe. Our government has their hand in all of it. Okay, so the story with Elmo is so big that they've been talking about all over the mainstream media. Of course they have. And instead of saying, whoa, what's going on out there? They're just kind of going, well, everybody's depressed. Everybody wants to kill themselves. Smile. Listen to this nonsense. And the response that Elmo got from people in our society.
Oh, we are back with the little red guy behind a simple tweet that in just 3 short days has been viewed nearly 200 million times.
Of course, we're talking about our dear friend Elmo. He did something so sweet, and it sparked kind of an unexpected reaction online.
Well, we want Elmo to tell us what he learned from all this in a moment. But first, let's check out more on the post behind the frenzy.
So happy, it makes him want to dance.
An innocent post this week from one of Sesame Street's favorite furry friends has gone viral. Elmo wrote, "Elmo's just checking in. How's everybody doing?" With nearly 200 million views. Those kind, thoughtful 9 words touched a nerve.
These are out of Elmo's emotions.
Tens of thousands of users on X sharing with the 3-year-old Muppet how they're really feeling. Some saying the responses amount to a social media trauma dump. One response, "Not good, Elmo, not good." Another simply said, "Elmo, we are tired." Another writing, "Elmo, girl, I'm having a quarter-life crisis right now, and I can't get my stuff together to finish this last semester. I'm mentally burned out, and I have a lifetime of working to go." One tweet expressing, "Elmo was just checking in. He didn't ask for all this."
La 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 la, Elmo song.
That may be so, but Elmo took to social media to respond, saying, "Wow, Elmo's glad he asked. Elmo learned that it is important to ask a friend how they're doing. Elmo will check in again soon, friends. Elmo loves you. Hashtag emotional well-being." Celebrities, including Dionne Warwick, T-Pain, Rachel Ziegler, and Garfield sending Elmo responses. Even the president weighing in, tweeting, "I know how hard it is some days to sweep the clouds away and get to sunnier days," adding, "Even though it's hard, you are never alone." And our own Craig Melvin sent this message. "Thanks for checking in, Elmo. Mondays are hard. Hope you're doing great. Be sure to check on Oscar. He always seems to be in a mood." All right, so we're so happy because look who's here.
Hi, guys.
Elmo and his dad made the trip from Sesame Street. Elmo? You
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
You asked everybody how they're doing. So how about today we turn the tables? How are you doing?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Well, Elmo's really, really happy. And Elmo's glad that he got to talk to a lot of people and see how they're doing.
Louis, were you surprised that Elmo, tweeted that, asking how people were, and you got so many views, 180 million plus, and people really, I guess they told the truth, how they were feeling, good or bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of people expressing a lot of feelings out there. Gave me some goosebumps, I'll tell you that.
Oh.
So many people willing to just let my boy know what's really going on inside.
You guys put the hashtag emotional well-being, and sometimes it's just a matter of, maybe you can't fix the problem, but just asking and knowing that someone cares, don't you think?
Well, emotional well-being, that's kind of the key. It's as important as your physical health. So learning what feelings you have inside and how to name them and healthy ways to express them, well, that's just part of living. Nowadays, you got to get it out.
Yes. Elmo, you know what this tells me? It tells me that people feel so comfortable and close to you that they can tell you all of the things that are bothering them.
Now, I don't know what's scarier, the fact that so many people are feeling this way, which does bother me. It does hurt me as a human being to see others feel like that. Nobody should be feeling the way that they're feeling. And they don't realize they're feeling the way that they're feeling because not just what the government is doing on a psychological standpoint, but again, the frequencies and the other things that they're doing to all of us. Okay, they're driving people literally insane. They're confusing people to the point that they're castrating themselves. The government has more than just blood on their hands. These people are demonic psychopaths that are ruining everybody's lives. And of course, this ties into also people just not being fulfilled in their everyday lives because they're going after things that are not attainable. I've talked about this many times. The rat in the wheel, going after careers or dreams. These are all things they want you to do, right? They want you to think that you could achieve these things and become famous or go after that. You can't do any of those things and be successful unless you're one of them. Okay, so they know by you doing those things and wanting those things that don't lead to life fulfillment that you're going to be depressed and you're going to be miserable. So these are all sick things that they do. And again, I'll go into detail over on the podcast, so make sure you subscribe now to it. But let's talk about a few of the things here, right? What's alarming is that people are actually responding to a fictional Muppet from a kid's TV show, but it shows you the psychosis and the MK Ultra that they're under, right? We have adults who are literally, I've talked about this, okay? If you study basic psychology, when adults start to regress, okay? Not progress, regress. So when adults start to, let's just say, go sour, they start regressing and they start behaving like children. You'll see a lot of adults who are not, being fulfilled in their day-to-day life, who are not able to face a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, all done by design, and they're cowering down and they're acting like children. They're buying dolls or doing things that they did as kids. They're going to Disney World to escape this reality. Now, what should be happening is men should be acting as men and we should be standing up against this and stopping it from occurring. But we're not. We're not because of the psychosis they're under. So grown-ups are regressing and they're tweeting to Elmo and they're tweeting to Sesame Street. And some person, they really think they're tweeting to Elmo? Maybe some of them actually do and think Elmo's real. Wouldn't surprise me at this point. Some people believe in the Easter Bunny. So look, this is a psychosis that people are under, okay? So all of these people should be wondering why. If this story goes viral, you should be asking yourself, why are so many people miserable and why are so many people depressed, right? And we talk about another thing, okay? This is something that's really important, therapy. They have normalized therapy so much so where they're like, it's normal to go to therapy. It's normal to feel this way. They're telling you and convincing you that it's normal to be depressed. It's normal to feel miserable, and it's not. They're the ones who are doing this. And it's not just through the media and the stuff they do to, create fear and drive you crazy. Okay. It's also through frequency programming. It's through the radiation exposure, like I talked about on my podcast, from these towers that are all around us that nobody notices. It's through those trails in the sky that we see dumped on us every day. Okay. And they tell you, well, look at this article. Elmo takes a turn as a therapist after asking, how's everybody doing? Right? And everybody thinks that this is normal. Nobody's looking at what the real problem is here, the root of the problems, or even why adults are behaving as children. This is what they want. This is exactly what our government wants from us. Because if adults continue to behave as children, they continue to get away with what they're getting away with, right? Now, this also shows us the MK Ultra that is Sesame Street. That is this child programming. Everybody's still, even people who are awake, they think it's normal to be putting their kids in front of this type of stuff. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't grow up in front of this stuff. Okay, so if I grew up in front of this stuff and I could pull myself out of it and be like, how embarrassing looking at this stuff. Oh, wow, I had a Cookie Monster doll or whatever some of us might have had. Okay? This is a problem in our society. 100 years ago, kids weren't sitting in front of the TV watching this pointless programming that doesn't do anything to help them grow. Kids were actually even doing chores and work. But if you say that in today's society, that's considered abuse and child abuse. That's why everybody's so messed up. So they get you at a young age with shows like Sesame Street, right? So watch look at what we're looking at here. Adults who are in their 20s and 30s are tweeting out, into the universe because they're in such a psychosis, to Elmo and telling them that things aren't going good. They're depressed. They're suffering from this stuff. They're reverting to childhood, right? And this shows you how M culture works because they're thinking in their head, well, Elmo is a time where I felt good. Sesame Street's a time where I felt good, where there weren't problems in the world. Well, there were problems in the world. You were just distracted with Elmo. Now, were the problems as enhanced as they are now? No. But all anyone has to do is look back at some of the literature over the last 100 years. Of course, people were talking about a new world order and weaponized weather and mind control and all these things that they're doing now. The only difference is that the technology that they've allowed out into the public has increased. So more and more people are under a very detrimental hypnosis to their own health. So here's the article. At first glance, it might have looked like a run-of-the-mill social media check-in. How is everybody doing? But the message came from Elmo, the furry red friend / demon to kids, Muppets, and anyone else. And Elmo is known on Sesame Street and beyond for his capacity to care. So the responses flooded in on X and Instagram threads and Facebook, and conversations sparked on Reddit and elsewhere. People, unburdened themselves, and Elmo took it all in, right? So Elmo's just checking in, and then people were saying, just on my way to buy some balsamic vinegar, talking to him like he's real. And remember, one of the things they're doing, and they just did with the outbreak, is they're making people distant from one another. People are growing cold, like the Bible says, from one another, right? Remember the Bible verse? A lot of people forget the Bible verse because you don't hear a lot of ministers read about anything in end time prophecy. But in Matthew chapter 24, verse 12, because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Are you not noticing that people are cold with one another? Technology also enhances this because people don't have to deal with people face to face, so they could say whatever they want. We all know of the saying, right? Keyboard warriors, keyboard tough guys. We see some of the people who do this stuff to me, right? They try to silence me all the time. These little pansies who dress up as Sonic the Hedgehog. And that's perfectly fine. They can try to do whatever they want to, but face to face, I know what they'll do. They'll urinate right down their leg, if not worse, right? Probably defecate in the back. Okay? But this is done by design, right? So people are growing cold from one another. So people are not having relationships with people, and part of the outbreak was to start building that in, right? Social distance, stay away from each other, don't interact with people. The politics and all that stuff is causing division, divisiveness, amongst people. So people are growing cold. So they don't even realize the psychosis they're under. They're tweeting out to Elmo. And some people are going to look at that because this is what they do with everything, and they go, oh, they're just joking around. Oh, they're just trolling. Oh, yeah? Are they? Are they? Is that trolling? How many excuses do you want to make for human beings and the regression going on here? That, oh, they're just having fun. Oh, they're doing video games instead of, finding trades that are going to be important very, very soon for them when everything's shut off. No. Everybody makes excuses for this type of behavior. Oh, these people are sad and upset. Who are you to make fun of? It's not making fun of them. It's explaining to them why they're feeling like this. Do you hear the media and any of them tell you the real reason why? What do they tell you? Oh, Donald Trump's the reason. Mean people is the reason. There's a lot going on here that you don't realize. Like I talked about in the podcast, silent weapons for quiet wars. You're getting hit with frequency. You're getting hit with all these things you don't realize is causing anxiety, depression, etc. Then, of course, the added stuff in our lives when people can't pay their bills or can't afford their groceries. And it's all the government who's doing it to all of us, all of it, from that all the way down to the psychological operation that's being done on the masses. So this is a major concern. It's a major concern, and I feel for people that feel this way, which is why I started a podcast, which is why I'm trying to branch out from just doing YouTube where I know I'll be suppressed and canceled at some point in time. Because there's so many young people out there that don't understand why they feel this way. And a lot of it also ties into, what, like I said, was psychologically regressing, right? Adults who are suffering from, regression problems, who aren't progressing as people, they turn, or if they're facing some type of confrontation or they're facing some type of conflict and they can't address it, they start to act like children again. And we're seeing all of society do this. This is what they've caked this into our day-to-day life and normalized it. So instead of talking in the morning news about, wow, isn't it embarrassing or isn't it sad or isn't it a state of affairs that adults are tweeting to Elmo? They're embracing it. They're like, hey, this is great. At least people are reaching out to Elmo. Elmo could be your therapist, and everyone's giggling and smiling like this is normal. While people are killing themselves, while people are just literally just in a funk, or people are doing things to their own body and they don't know why. This all comes from the poison of the government. Okay? This government is corrupt as anything we've ever seen in the history of humanity. Okay? This is Satan's hierarchy. These people are passing this stuff down onto all of us. It's not just a psychosis they're passing down. They're controlling your behavioral patterns. They're making you do things like this. And they know that you'll turn and you'll ask and tweet out the things like Elmo because you're regressing so much as a human being that this is what they want you to do, right? The answer to the problems is to remove the wicked people in power. That's the answer to the problems. Going to Air Force bases and shutting off any of these planes that are flying up, checking in every single airplane, what chemicals are in those planes, and shutting it down. Every single tower that we see up in every single town, on every single highway, taking them down. That's where we start. But people won't believe that. They think those towers are up because people are going to download the new Taylor Swift song faster. They don't realize that you're being programmed with frequencies, you're being dumped on with chemicals, whether it's your water or your food. Go read a manufactured food label, okay? If you walk through let's use this hypothetical for a teen out there, or even an adult, okay? If you're walking through a farm and you see a banana, right? Are you going to need an ingredient list before you peel the banana and eat it? No, you're not, right? You're like, I'm eating a banana, okay? Well, you go to the store, you buy some of these things like Cheerios, like, oh, it's whole grain oats, right? So you'd say to yourself, okay, well, it's whole grain and oats, right? What else could be in there, right? And you say, oh, well, let me look at the ingredients. And you see about 75 things in the ingredients. Every one of them looks like a pharmaceutical pill that you can't even pronounce. And nobody's suspicious about what it is. They're like, oh, it's preservatives, so it doesn't go bad. Oh, they need 75 of them? How come some of these things, if we look them up, actually are graphene and all sorts of chemicals that you would not give a lab rat? Or you would maybe give a lab rat if you were running an experiment on how to kill the lab rat slowly. Huh? And they're doing it to us and our food, all these things, but they keep you constantly distracted with total nonsense instead of holding these people accountable for. And that's done by design as well. That's why there's no revolution. And then any time people start to realize this stuff and think, okay, we got to do something about it. What do? They psychologically herd them into the left-right paradigm. Well, if I follow Donald Trump, then we could solve this problem. This wicked government could be thrown into this swamp. And then we could have Donald Trump, who won't put this stuff out there. I talked about the Daily Wire a bunch of times, right? And one of the things I talked about, and that video's been removed, but let me just recap it for you. I talked about the Daily Wire trying to put out child programming. What do we need child programming for? It's programming. You're programming a child. Teach your child. If you're an adult with a child, don't let the institution raise your child, and certainly don't dock them in front of a television set. Why? Because they're learning. Their brain is absorbing. This is why this world's in mass chaos. Because parents are docking their kids in front of this technology or in front of the TV, and they're like, oh, it's safe at Sesame Street. Is it? Is it? This was just something that was recently on Sesame Street. Anyone see what they're doing and how this works and how mind control works? This is some stuff from Sesame Street. If you don't remember, I've covered it before.
And here locally, gay rights activists say it does mark a milestone.
Okay.
We're here!
For 5 decades, Sesame Street has been a valuable teaching tool for children.
I want you to meet my brother Dave, his husband Frank, and my sobrina Mia, my niece.
Hi, Mia.
Papi, Daddy, Sesame Street is even more amazing than he said.
And for Pride Month, the kids program introduces a gay family with 2 dads.
Wow, all our families are so different.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different families. But what makes us a family is that we love each other.
That's true.
I'm so pleased that Sesame Street is doing this, and I hope other programs will follow suit.
Jeff Graham with the Georgia Equality Organization welcomes the representation, saying it reflects our communities. Here in Georgia, the organization estimates that 1/3 of same-sex couples are raising children.
So all children deserve to be seen and be able to be seeing themselves reflected on children's television.
This is nothing new for Sesame Street, which this year introduced 2 new Muppet characters, which are African American.
The color of our skin is an important part of who we are.
Race, just one of the issues Sesame Street has tackled, along with hunger and addiction. Now same-sex couples can be added to that list.
And so it's not part of some big agenda. It's not politics. It's just reality. It's just families.
Yeah, so how does that plant seeds in kids' heads? People are like, well, it's Sesame Street, right? Oh, does a 2-year-old actually know what they're even looking at? They're looking at a cookie and a Cookie Monster. Looking at Elmo, they're like, it's just some red thing. And the parents are like, it's just some red doll. It's catching their attention, right? They don't even listen to the stuff they're programming it with. 2 dads, some type of potion you could stick in your body. You know what I mean? I mean, no one realizes where this stuff is coming from and how and why. Okay, this is all state-run media. It needs to be stopped. The people on the right are not going to protect you from it either. Daily Wire is trying to stick you in front of the TV for child programming that's safe. Oh, look, they put out cartoons. They put out all these things that make kids useless and dumbed down, right? And they're like, well, if you try to have your kid out there doing chores, that's wicked. That's bad parenting. Oh, is it? I guarantee that child would be a lot more satisfied. They wouldn't even know of any of this crap that they get people caught up in, this psychosis. They'd feel fulfilled because they're doing things that fulfill them. And this goes from talking about children on Sesame Street or watching Sesame Street all the way up to adults, right, who are depressed and don't feel the will to live. Because they deliberately created this matrix so that you don't feel the will to live. Because you're not doing things that God put us on earth to do. God didn't put us here to entertain us or so we could be entertained. Okay, we're not supposed to be sitting here watching things, twiddling our thumbs 24/7. We're supposed to be productive human beings. They've taken that away from us by design so they could take control over us by design. So we don't know how to grow food, or we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to build. Yeah, of course some of you out there know how to do certain trades. We all should really know how to do all trades and be able to work together. And I'm not talking about some type of utopian society or anything like that. I'm talking about the way the government is. We look at the structure and the hierarchy of this government, and you can say, well, maybe it would work. Well, maybe it would if there was actually non-wicked people put in these positions. But we know that it's all compromised. It's fully compromised, and that's the problem. So they're poisoning children's minds. They're poisoning adults' minds. And adults are turning to Tickle Me Elmo to tickle their emotions. And they don't even realize why they're in such a psychosis. It's really sad. It's truly sad. And there's so many things we can look at. But you got to start peeling the onion back and coming out of this beast system. And again, on the podcast, if you find stuff like this helpful when I talk like this, or I'm giving you information like this instead of, I do a lot of different types of things I cover in the news, okay? But the podcast is really going to break these things down more and more so that you can listen to this wherever you are on the go, and you're just listening and you're working, and this stuff could absorb in your mind about what's going on, what they're doing, okay? Words that might bore you, like social engineering. Social engineering can be the most basic thing, like why you're dressing the way you're dressing, okay? Behavioral control. They call people influencers now. They flat out admit that they're influencing, and people are like, they're not really influencing me. They're influencing your behavior by design, okay? And all the things that they're trying to push on you go into these satanic teachings that they're trying to normalize, okay? This all must stop. And if we're going to help people out, we're going to have to, do everything we possibly can to get them the information they need to hear. So that's what I'm going to continue to try to do. So join the podcast if you haven't yet, because I'm leaning towards uploading more on the podcast, and you're going to want to be subscribed. So you can make a free account on Podbean or in Spotify if you have one. Type in A Call for an Uprising, find it, subscribe to it so you get notifications. Unlike here, where the majority of you get unsubscribed over and over and over again, over there you won't have to worry about that. And again, I'm going to start off with a few a week, and I might even start doing daily ones every day over there for 45 minutes to an hour a day going through topics. You won't want to miss it if you like my content, and you probably won't have to worry about me getting deleted on those platforms, at least not anytime soon. In the future, of course, that's always a possibility. But we know how it is here on YouTube. And of course, if you do subscribe over there, make sure you give a good review. I wouldn't ask for you to give a good review, but there's a lot of people who troll, who try to get me censored, and they will go out of their way because they have nothing better to do and no lives. These are the people I'm talking about, who are suicidal and depressed and don't know why, and they think it's because people like me speaking out against the system. It's the system itself that is making them that way, but they'll go out of their way to try to suppress me in the algorithm, and they'll be like, people like that are the reason I'm depressed because they don't accept me, and they don't even realize what they're talking about is just a psychosis that they're in, that they're not going to be fulfilled by these things that these wicked people are trying to get them to do to themselves. But they're foregone, lost at this point. But hopefully we could change a lot of that and help people out. So make sure you subscribe. You could go over, again, Podbean, the app, or over to Spotify, the app, and type in A Call for an Uprising. Make sure you create an account and subscribe so you don't miss out. And if you don't want to do that yet, you could at least download it. It's all free. There's no charge. It's all free. You just have to have a free account over there. and you'll get the notification so you know when I am uploading, unlike here, where I have to inform you myself sometimes. I thank everybody for being here again. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.